We welcome you into the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here on a Tuesday afternoon in the Valley of Happiness. Jeff Byers, Goon Conlin,
hello,
the Deer Goon, joining us here, and lots to get into on today's show. We'll cover quite a bit of different ground over the course of the roughly 2 hours here today, and couple of programming notes here on the local front. Let me make sure I get this right. My days are starting to run all together.
Today's Tuesday.
2 weeks from yesterday. 2 weeks from yesterday. So 13 days from today, we will have a special show over at Cafe 210 with Charmarette Curtis and also Carolyn Keeger, the Lady Lion basketball head coach. We will also be talking with a couple of Lady Lion players at that event. That one, Jim Galante and Landon Tangwall will be co-hosting, and I'll be there for a little while at Cafe 210. We'll kind of start with a little bit of a pre-show show, if you will, down there from 4:30 to 5, and then the show will air on our airwaves from 5 to 6. That'll be, again, on Monday, February 12th. And then this coming Sunday, February 4th, we'll have a special show with a few Penn State players, football players. That show will air from 5 to 6 on Sunday at an undisclosed location. There's an event that's happening, and we'll have the show, but it's a closed event. So we're not not promoting for folks to come out to it, but we will have, again, probably 3 different Penn State players on the airwaves here. That show will, again, be on Sunday, this coming Sunday, the 4th, from 5 to 6. We'll be doing more shows like this, remote broadcasts around the area featuring Penn State, and we'll get some high school folks involved here as well in the near future. So looking forward to those couple of events coming up. We want to remind you that we are here at Quaker Steak and Lube every Tuesday and Thursday. Man, it is our home away from home. It has been for what? Going on 6 years now, right?
Is that what it is?
I think it is.
Dude.
I think that's right. And we are eternally grateful.
I could have had you clipped and gotten out of prison by now.
For the partnership. So close.
My father used to say that about him and my mom. You sit there, you're like, I'm 10 years old. Why would you say that?
Wow. Really happy with the partnership that we have with Quaker Steak and Lube. Obviously, a great place for food and beverages. The all-you-can-eat wing buffet, which is one of our favorite things ever, gets underway here at 4 o'clock, just a little less than an hour from now. And again, great place to come on down and watch sports. We've got, we're right in the throes now of basketball and wrestling seasons, and obviously hockey season, and lots going on the Penn State front. They obviously have the Big Ten Network here. You'll be able to check out all of the various Penn State sports. By the way, Nittany Lions looking for that first road win on the Big Ten Network tomorrow night, 8:30 start as Penn State travels to Rutgers and the RAC. We'll talk about that and much more in the Penn State sports scene here as the show unfolds today. Also want to let you know or remind you that tonight we will have St. Joseph's girls basketball coming up at 7:15 will be the airtime, 7:30 the tip-off. If you've not been following the high school sports scene here locally, St. Joseph's is having a pretty good season. They are 18-0 on the year, and most of their games have not been close. They'll host Newport tonight. Again, a 7:30 start. Todd and Norm Brown will have coverage on Sports Radio 98.7, the Fox locally here, starting at 7:15.
Where's Newport?
Down east of here, it's like toward Harrisburg, a good bit, kind of almost roughly halfway. I think it's a little slightly closer to Harrisburg than it is here, but
Is it
like
Port Royal exit type of thing, going down 322.
It's little.
Oh, yeah, yes, I know. I remember seeing the sign all the time. Yes,
but yeah, so. And I think I think St. Joseph's won the earlier game at Newport pretty handily earlier this season. I'm actually going to reach up here, and we're just going to make a little adjustment with our camera. It's bothering me that we have that much headspace.
Just looking that much bigger than you. I can see where you get a little upset.
A little intimidated. Now I probably turned it down too much. Give me just a second.
Get my chins in there. Don't forget them, Jeffrey. Come on, buddy.
The exact camera angles straightened out ahead of time. My bad on that. I'm not even sure where we want to start.
I know where I'm starting.
Okay, go ahead and start.
So remember in oh my goodness, I literally had it on the tip of my tongue. Clint Eastwood, Marine Corps, Heartbreak Ridge. Okay. They had the tie. Then they had the two head-to-head guys go in the pit. So Clint Eastwood had to fight the big dog in the pit.
Yes.
So Kale handed it off to you yesterday and said announcers wrestling to figure out that whole hubbub that went on Sunday afternoon.
Oh boy.
So you and the Maryland announcer had to go head-to-head out there. And what do you got?
Well, that's going to bode well for me because it'll be a forfeit victory.
There you go, Head.
Truly, we'll take the
victory 198 for Kale.
Love those forfeits.
That was I don't know. I don't know how to take it. I mean, I could say the guy was upset and this and that, but come on, man, you're wrestling the number one team in the country.
Yeah,
it seemed a little disrespectful.
Well, it was just weird to me. Alex Clemson, a couple of things. Let's just back up. Maryland wrestling has struggled. That is putting it kindly.
Yes.
Maryland is very much a basketball school that rules the roost in Maryland. They like their football. They love their basketball. And listen, they like the overall sports scene, right? Like, lacrosse is really big down there. They are good in several sports. Wrestling, for a very long time, has been just an afterthought at Maryland. I think, I know in the history of Maryland wrestling, they've had 2 national champions. Penn State twice in the last decade has had 5 champions in one individual tournament. Again, Maryland has had 2 in the history of the program, 81 years of wrestling at Maryland. And so just to give you an idea of the disparate history of the 2 programs.
It's Maryland football versus Penn State football.
So
mid-'80s.
Penn State right now is obviously the standard bearer in college wrestling. What Penn State has going on right now is truly just
Can I say college
amazing.
Sports?
Probably that is the case.
Them and Northwestern women's lacrosse.
So Alex Clemson is trying to build up that program. And Alex has, he finished 4th individually at the NCAA tournament back in 2007. He's an Edinburgh grad. And was a very good assistant coach at Missouri, which Missouri is
a rank 2.
Is a powerhouse wrestling program and really has been very, very good for the last 15, 20 years, somewhere in that neighborhood. And so Clemson was a big part of the success there for the 5 years that he was there. He was associate head coach, if not for the entire tenure, I think for most of it. And he left to take the head coaching job at Maryland when Kerry McCoy left that program. And it is really hard to change the culture. We've talked about it in football, right? Like Maryland football, that is a really hard road to hoe where you're trying to work your way up and you're doing so in a conference and, at least until next year, a division that was just stacked. And you can do everything right and not make much ground up, if any, when you're in that type of situation. And so Alex Clemson, to his credit, has brought in a lot of good talent. They had a remarkable freshman class last year, and those guys are all sophomores this year, and they're good. And that being good is significant at Maryland. They had 5 in the NCAA tournament last year. That's the first time in 9 seasons that they had that many qualifiers for the NCAA tournament. So he is doing a lot of good things. I don't know what he realistically was expecting in the dual meet on Sunday. Penn State had a couple of starters out. It happened to be where Maryland had 2 of their really good wrestlers, and Maryland took advantage and got wins
6 points
at both 133 and 149. Realistically, on paper, that was about as good as Maryland was realistically going to be able to do.
Indiana and Michigan State would take that
on Sunday. So Penn State ends up winning the dual meet handily. I think I don't know what the mindset of Alex Clemson was. I know he was frustrated during the meet, felt there were some officiating calls that went against him. I think one thing that aggravated him was there was a long scramble, like crazy long scramble, and I think it was Levi Haynes, if I'm remembering.
How
right.
He didn't go down, he didn't get taken down, and he just did like circles.
57. Well, yeah, but he ended up getting the takedown, and I may be, it may not be the 157, but one of those bouts, maybe it was Bo Bartlett, but where they were in the scramble for like a minute and a half, maybe even more than that, and eventually it might have been Bartlett, and Penn State gets the takedown, and then there were a couple of other situations where there were scrambles, and it seemed, from Alex Clemson's perspective, and I can understand it, where it was like a pretty quick stalemate call given what was allowed to occur earlier. So I think he was frustrated by that. I think, obviously, Penn State, with that top half of the lineup, there's just not many teams that are going to be able to keep it relatively close. And Penn State obviously racked up 4 pins and a major decision. Carter Sirachi wanted the pin at 174. That is, he backed out of a couple of takedown opportunities that would have given him the technical fall. For whatever reason, that seemed to really irk and kind of set off Alex Clemson. He was also upset that the Penn State corner was asking for stall calls against Jackson Smith at 197 as Aaron Brooks kept driving forward and Smith kept backing up. One thing with wrestling, and I've just never really seen a coach go off like that after a dual meet. It was almost as though, and again, I'm trying to interpret a little bit here, but it was almost like Alex Clemson was saying, like it was a basketball game, and hey, you're up by 20. Let's, ease up. There's only a couple minutes left. Wrestling is, it's an individual sport incorporated into a team sport, but each of the kids that are out there, right? This isn't like team sports where, okay, yes, you have a big lead. Maybe you do ease off the gas pedal, rest your starters, that sort of thing. In wrestling, you can't do that. These guys are out there trying to compete and get it
in its core,
take the most out of their opportunity. And Sirachi wanted the fall, decided he was going to work for it, ended up getting it. That seemed to upset Clemson. I think again, it has to be tough. You're a competitor, right? Alex Clemson, again, is doing some good things with that Maryland program. He's a competitor. He knows that the program is getting better. He wants to put on a
He doesn't want to back
show.
down his guys. He wanted to see that he could stand up to Kale and the big bad Penn State team.
Yes, and at the end of the day, Penn State wins at 42-6. I just don't think Penn State – if you are looking to build a college football program that has struggled for decades, right, you don't 5 years into it, start comparing yourself to Nick Saban's Alabama teams. Right? Like, I mean, it's just not, or Ryan Day's Ohio State teams, or Jim Harbaugh's Michigan teams. Like, I mean, you can measure against them, but you be realistic that that's not where you're going to be. And again, and this Penn State team still has a chance right now to go down as one of the greatest, and maybe even the greatest wrestling team that we've seen at the collegiate level. Well, there is certainly no shame in losing to a team like that in the way that Maryland did as it continues to build. I think the emotions got the better of Alex Clemson. And again, as a competitor, I can understand. You don't want to see your guys getting pushed around the mat. You don't want to see the pins. Nobody wants to see that if you are coaching your team. Even if you 100% know it's coming, it is tough to take, right? High school coaches run into those situations all the time. It's like, you know your team is overmatched, right? Like, you just don't have the horses that you go into a Friday night or, a high school wrestling dual meet. It's like, yeah, we have one or two good guys. This team has 10 loaded studs. It's like, I know it's not going to be competitive. Doesn't make it any easier if you have that competitive drive to sit there and take it. But sometimes that is what you have to do. You just kind of have to swallow it and go back and work, see if you can continue to try to close that gap. I don't think it was a good look.
That's what it reminded me of. What it reminded me of.
I genuinely don't understand. Listen, it would be one thing if Penn State was there were questionable holds or like illegal holds, or there are circumstances where it's like, I can see a coach getting upset. Basically, what he seemed to be upset about was that Penn State was trying to point out to the officials that their guy at 197 was backing up when what he was doing was backing up, and that Penn State took advantage of the no question about it, mismatches in the upper weights in particular, and put the dual meet away with, some exclamation points, if you will, down the stretch. But I truly don't know what else Alex Clemson wanted Penn State to do. Wrestling is not a sport where not taking the takedowns for Carter Starachi that would have given him the technical fall. Again, part of that is the mindset. Yeah, I get it. Penn State did not need Carter Starachi's bonus points to win the dual meet at Maryland on Sunday. But you don't know. I get it. Penn State, prohibitive favorite to win Big Tens and Nationals this year. A lot of folks, I'm reading stuff from national writers. It's like, it's over. The race is for second. If Penn State's healthy, to some degree that may be true, but you still got to go out and do it, right? Like, and we've seen it's sports, like crazy stuff can happen. So you still got to go out and do it, and you don't know. Like, you can say you know, but you don't. If Carter Starachi needs a pin in the Big Ten or the NCAA tournament for Penn State to, secure a title or to stay in the hunt or whatever, well, you need to have that in your hip pocket. Now, did Carter Starachi need a pin over Maryland to have that confidence? No, but
that's on him.
Working for a pin, again, is the very essence of the sport. I've just never seen a coach take umbrage with a wrestler trying to get the most points he can for his team in a particular bout, no matter what else has happened in the dual meet before or after. That is just, I've just never seen that before.
Only I can compare it to, like I said, was Rutgers 1995, my senior year, when Doug Graber came across the field at Joe and said, "I didn't think you played like that, Joe." And Joe was like, "What do you mean?" To set the scenario up was they were putting 9 in the box and then blitzing, and we were running the ball for a whole quarter. And they were kicking the crap out of us. Our 13 guys were getting smacked around a little bit. And, McQuarrie went back into a drop back and saw that everybody was up at the line of scrimmage. And he
was
is
the
coached.
backup quarterback at the
He's
time.
He's the third-team quarterback at the time.
Wow.
Oh, no. He was. It was 96. It was 95. So, yeah, he was the backup. And he was coached that if you see this call, this defense, you audible to this play. And he does it and throws a touchdown to Chris Campbell. I mean, yeah, the guy was barely covered because they were just blitzing everybody. So what's Joe supposed to do? Let your guys get the absolute crap kicked out of them? And he's just trying to stand up to Joe, in my opinion. But I could see where the guy was like, I'm not intimidated by Cale or Penn State. I mean, Maryland has that complex. They got a chip on their shoulder about everything in Penn State. Always have. And it goes down in the wrestling, I guess. So, the guy's just trying to fight for his guys and say, we never give up, we always fight. But what he was arguing was stupid. You can't say that. I did. I mean, if you're gonna beat me this way, not this way. Like what? No, we talked off air. I said it's a lot like, I don't know what game it was. Harbaugh was going for it on first, second, third down when it's less than 2 minutes. Just kneel the ball down. I think it was Michigan State game. Like kneel, and then he's still running plays and they score a late touchdown. I mean, it's the stuff like that comes back and. It gets people mad, and you can probably see where Clemson was a little upset about that. But again, what you're saying is completely true. What's he not? I mean, the core of the sport is to physically take your opponent, put his shoulders on the back, on the ground, pin him against his own will. That's the nuts and bolts of wrestling.
Yeah.
And he went and did that, and he's mad that you should have just taken a tech fall because you're taking him down. Now I remember watching Taylor. Back in the day, playing and Knopf did the same thing. They were playing with mice, They were they wanted to work on takedowns that day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm going to take you down 9 times, let you up 8, and then I'm going to get the tech ball. Okay, I want to work on my takedown. So I want to work on my pin. I'm going to work on my pin today. I mean, stop it. That's all. I mean, that's all I got to say about it. And sort of a guy sort of embarrassed himself a little bit, but I can see where his guys were, they're going to say, well, coach doesn't quit. He's a fighter, this and that. He's got our back. So, I mean, probably good for the program, but not good optics for Maryland wrestling at all, in my opinion.
I would agree with you.
They were just upset about the Ravens there, buddy.
Well, so one of the things I want to discuss a little bit tonight, because it is fascinating to me, and I think there's a lot of different things that come in play. But we had two really big examples of this, and again, I certainly understand that this is not any kind of new phenomenon in sports, but I do want to talk, especially since you have the background you do as an athlete and a coach, the idea of how two halves can be so different. And you look at Minnesota Penn State basketball on Saturday night, and then obviously you look at the San Francisco 49ers and the Detroit Lions in the NFC Championship game. And both very similarly, right? Penn State just dominated the first half. Mike Rhodes said he thinks that's probably the best 20 minutes, and I think I would agree with him, the best 20 minutes that Penn State has put together all season long.
Yep.
Both ends of the floor, hustling, making the shots, the whole bit. And the second half, one of the worst halves of Penn State basketball to this point in the season. The Detroit Lions, I mean, I could not believe as we were watching that first half, not necessarily shocked that they were ahead. I thought they had a puncher's chance going into the game.
And they were punching.
That first half, I mean, they dominated the game. It was like they were just completely outclassing San Francisco. And it is just fascinating to me how drastically different things can be. It's the same players.
Yep. It's
the same coaches. You're on the same field. I get it. You're behind. There's a sense of urgency. You're ahead. Sometimes it's, you get a little complacent. But, man, like in both cases, there was nothing that could change the momentum either way. I mean, Minnesota was feeling it in the second half at the BJC, and Penn State just could not get itself readjusted. They tried a couple of times, felt, with a few minutes left there, it's like, oh, maybe, and then no. Minnesota finally slammed the door. And, the Detroit Lions, the coaching decisions, good God. I am a huge fan of being aggressive. I'm a huge fan of being ultra aggressive. But there is a time where you're like, all right, don't be stupid. And I'm sorry, you have a chance to kick a tying field goal. Don't be stupid. Kick the tying field goal.
After you've already done it once and got burnt once.
And that was
you're going to go back to the well.
And listen, I've been trying to think this through. Like if he makes both of those,
yep.
Are fans today, and Detroit wins the game in large part as a result. Like, are we sitting here today talking about Dan Campbell and how that's so phenomenal? Yeah, you got to be aggressive. That's the championship mentality. How many coaches would have had the guts to do that, right? Like, if he makes it,
no doubt.
And listen, they weren't really close on either one.
Yeah, well, I understand. Measurements or anything.
He said that they felt good about the play calls. Obviously, you would presume if you're going for it, it's a play that you are thinking is going to work. Like, that makes sense that you have confidence in it.
There was a third too.
And I do think, and Greg Olson on the last one, I do think Greg Olson did a fantastic job of immediately explaining how the 49ers had disguised their defense. And created the confusion for the look that Goff had and thought he was going to have. And so I do think, at the end of the day, it's a combination of things. Listen, I can't get over, and I think I'd be telling you that even if they made it, that's still the wrong call. Like, that's just dumb. You're in an NFC championship game. You have a chance to tie it. You take that opportunity. But the reason he's getting excoriated is because it didn't work. Like, they did not convert on those plays. If they had converted, right, the conversation is different. Now, we still might be, man, I don't know. I don't think that's the right call, but you got to hand it to him, right? Like, that's so at the end of the day, and that is sports, right? At the end of the day, I do think you want to be fearless. I mean, one of the reasons Penn State Wrestling has had the success that it has had under Cal is those guys are fearless in the big moments. And you look at the number of big moves that Penn State has hit in big moments. Bo Nickel, Penny Miles Martin, the inside trip by Vincenzo Joseph on Isaiah Martinez. I mean, Penn State goes for it. The inside trip by Nick Lee over Jaden Ironman. I mean, time and time again, it's like, yep, we're going for it. And listen, sometimes it's not going to work. You're going to get caught. Like that is the nature of sports. I think most of us appreciate and congratulate folks that go for it. You're in the arena. You have an opportunity. Man, go for it. Go for broke. And I keep trying to allow myself, it's like, man, that's what Detroit was all season long, right? Like, they went for it more than anybody else. They didn't make it more than anybody else, but they went for it more than anybody else all season. That's in large part what got them to the NFC Championship game. So the argument could be made, you stay with who you are. That's how you get there. Talk to the Baltimore Ravens about that. Why they didn't stay with who they are all season long. I mean, we're going to criticize Detroit for staying with who they were a little too much. I'm going to turn around and say, Baltimore, what were you doing? Like, and listen, as a Ravens hater, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing it. Again, I'm not necessarily a Kansas City fan, but I prefer the Chiefs over the Ravens every day of the week. But I'm watching that game, and yeah, the turnovers killers. I mean,
end zone turnovers.
Yes, if not for the interception of the end zone and the fumble at the goal line, right? Where even with all of the issues that the Ravens had offensively, they still win that game.
Correct.
But the turnovers occurred, and it, as a Steelers fan who watched way too often the Steelers lose at home in the AFC Championship game, I can relate to the Baltimore fans, but that had to be an excruciating experience for Ravens fans.
I shouldn't stop by.
Much like Detroit, felt like, you know what, everything's just coming together for us this year. And at halftime, I mean, those fans, like, you could taste it. It's like, oh my God, our dreams of the Detroit Lions getting to the Super Bowl, they're going to come to fruition. I can't believe I'm here to witness this.
Correct.
You know, the Detroit fans had that. The Ravens, I think, truly felt they had the better team going in. I think the Ravens and their fans walk out of that stadium going, oh my God, we just lost to a team that we should have defeated. And again, I think it was a combination of things. They got away from the run game inexplicably. They were having success with it all season. They had success with it the few times they did it against Kansas City early on. And then it was, for some reason, they just abandoned it. Again, I'm very grateful that they did it, but I don't understand it. And listen, they were, what was it, plus 12, I think, during the season in turnovers, and they're minus 3 in that AFC Championship game. And they were killers. I mean, just devastating turnovers for the Ravens. But they just got away from who they are and their identity. But if you're a Ravens fan, again, you're home. You have a banged-up Chiefs team, a Kansas City team that is not, it felt like the equivalent would be Alabama football this year. It's like, man, they're still really good. We know they're the champs, but they're not. This isn't one of their best all-around teams. We think we can get them. And Baltimore was relatively healthy. They were home. They were playing fantastic football. And again, I think to a large degree, they outplayed Kansas City even in that game. The Ravens' defense was lights out in that game. But the offense got away from its identity, and the turnovers, again, were just absolutely crushing.
The penalties.
Well, yes. And that's why I think if you're a fan,
they completely
Ravens,
lost their mojo.
You're walking out, and it's like, oh, my God.
How did we lose that game?
Like, yeah, I think the Ravens deep in their souls believe they were the better team. And
they were.
All they had to do, yes, was play disciplined, not turn the ball over when you're down by the goal line. And even with not playing to their identity and taking what they were better at, I think, all season long, they still would have won that game comfortably. Without the dumb penalties and without the turnovers, they probably win that. Well, they win it by double digits. I mean, I can't, I guess, prove that, but that's what would have happened. And instead,
you got to put Lamar in a place where he doesn't like to be, and that's in a pocket.
Yeah,
having to throw the ball.
But why would you do? Like, they did that to themselves.
Oh,
though.
Yeah. They didn't run the ball at all.
Why would you do that?
6 non-Lamar runs. 6.
That's just crazy. But they didn't even put Lamar into. Like
they in early they did. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, well, after the first quarter,
and then it was like they sort of packed it up. Oh, we can't get him hurt. Okay,
it was just I don't know. It was just very, very strange. We're gonna take a break here. We will be back. We've got lots more.
I got to look up what
to get into. Yeah,
whatever you said about Campbell, they're excoriating him or something like that.
Excoriating, yeah.
Yes, yeah. I have to look that up in our off time here. So
gotcha. Yeah, we'll be right back. It is the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show. We are at Quaker Steak and Lube, where we love to be on our Tuesday and Thursday afternoons.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
Since retiring, I have spent my time searching the countryside for the hottest wings in America. I always seem to end up disappointed. You call these hot? Back off, Luigi.
Mamma mia.
Look, handsy busboy. Your wings suck! I knew I should have stuck with Quaker Steak's triple atomic wings. You think I'm tough enough?
The Center Hall Farm Store has been serving Center County and beyond for well over a half century. A small family business, the Center Hall Farm Store specializes in animal nutrition and manufactures its feed fresh using local ingredients. Get the best in horse, cow, pig, chicken, and bird feeds. If you're not already a customer, stop in and see why so many of your neighbors are. The Center Hall Farm Store at 110 West Allison Street in Center Hall, or call us at 814-364-1393.
Sioka Toyota of Williamsport invites you to stop in today or check us out online. We have the smart path to your next Toyota, like the all-new Crown, BZ4X, the all-new Grand Highlander, Corolla Cross Hybrids, Sequoias, and more. Over 100 new Toyotas here and on the way. Don't make a $1,000 mistake. Choose Sioka Toyota of Williamsport and see the Sioka dealership's difference. Buy or reserve yours today and see for yourself why Sioka Toyota is the only stop you need for your next new car. Sioka Toyota, it just feels right.
Ready to be part of something bigger? Come pave the road to success at Glen Baker and discover a career where your hard work and determination can build a bigger, better future. Our team believes we can build a stronger future together. Join us at Glen Baker, where we value teamwork on the field and on the job. Go to GOHcareers.com to apply. GOHcareers.com. And best of luck to all the Center County sports teams all season long from everyone at Glen Baker.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
The Goon and Ironhead.
We are back on the Lion Country Kia
Hey.
Goon and Ironhead show. We are at Quaker Steak and Lube. It is our home away from home, the place to be. Certainly on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 3 to 5. And really, anytime during.
You can learn new words from Ironhead. Still couldn't figure it out. I couldn't spell. I can't even say it.
You know, you watch sports with me, you'll learn a whole new set of words.
Oh yeah.
If my teams aren't doing well. By the way, Art Rooney II had the end of the season wrap up for the Steelers yesterday, and it's interesting. I think fans, excuse me, by and large, enjoy being unhappy. Like, right? I mean, you want to win championships, and if your team's winning championships, you're happy. But anything short of that, and I feel like even with championship teams, it's like you still like to find something to complain about. Like, it's just the nature. So I thought Art Rooney II's comments were right on the mark. It's like, listen, we have a good coach in Mike Tomlin. We're backing him. But, yeah, we got to get better production. No playoff wins in 7 years. That has to end. There has to be a sense of urgency about that. Well, but the players are responding to Mike Tomlin is what he said. Well, that's hard to argue when you look at how this team finished up again this year and you see the vocal support. And I'm not that doesn't necessarily mean that Mike Tomlin should stay. I personally think he should, and I'm glad he is. I understand the argument, and I think it's a valid debate that, hey, sometimes it just things run their time and run their course, and it's time to move on. I do think Mike Tomlin, with the way this thing finished up this year, again, personally, I'm glad he's back. He also said, listen, Kenny Pickett has our support. We want him to be our quarterback, but we got to see production from him next year. Like, there is clearly within the organization, like, next year is a make or break year. Now, I don't think make or break in terms of it's Super Bowl or bust. If you don't win the title, you're out of there. But it's you need to win a playoff game, at least a playoff game.
Make a run.
Yep, and I think that's
question.
I think that's a legitimate objective when you look at this team overall. And again, we've talked about it, but Goon, I think this team is, when healthy, and that's obviously the big caveat, across the board. And it's one of the more amazing things. I want to come back and circle back to the Chiefs, because while I do think the Ravens deserve a lot of blame for what happened to them in that game, you cannot deny what the Kansas City Chiefs have cooking right now. And there's no question it starts with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. And there's a lot of other parts that are important. But, man, what those two have done is, I mean, it is Belichick Brady-like. And to some degree, maybe more impressive. This season in particular, I think is maybe the best job that either or both have done to this point in their respective careers.
I went back to the Steelers real quick.
Yeah.
Take the blue or the black and gold goggles off. Do you think another team gives Kenny Pickett a third season? Honest to God.
Yeah, I do. I think
some fan bases would have turned and they'd be gone. I mean, this is just how some organizations kowtow to their fans because of the pressure and this and that, where the Steelers will never do that.
Sam, our buddy Sam is helping you out. Excoriate, censure, or criticize severely.
There you go. See? Thank you.
I like it. Thank you, Sam.
I got smarter today.
I appreciate it.
I still can't say it, but no. But do you think that the Steelers are the Steelers for a reason? They will not, for lack of a better word, kowtow. They will not, bow down to their fans and the pressure, because if they did that, Tomlin wouldn't be there.
Yes.
Pickett be gone, right? I mean, any other organization, they're not going to stick by them.
I don't know that that's not necessarily the case. You
think Pickett's played well enough in his 2 seasons to?
Well, so here's the thing. There's a couple of things about him. Mm-hmm. Number one is, as we always talk about here, it's like, okay, you want to move on from a coach or a quarterback or a player. What's your plan? Like, and if your plan isn't, hey, we're definitively going to have an upgrade here. Like, listen, if you're going to replace Mike Tomlin and you're like, the next guy that comes in is going to be in AFC championship games regularly, he's the next Andy Reid. Okay. Where is it that you think you're finding that guy who's just got the magic elixir? That's
the Ironhead argument. That's the head argument. That's the head.
There.
I know. I'm with you on that.
One part of it is, I get Mason Rudolph played well down the stretch. I am okay if they, and I don't think they are, like, truly opening the quarterback competition. But I think part of why they're not opening it is, and again, they may go in and listen, we're going to see who the best man is. The best quarterback, the more talented quarterback, is Kenny Pickett. Now, the decision-making that Rudolph had down the stretch, I mean, it is a huge part of why the Steelers got into the playoffs. There's no doubt about that. But where I'm at with Kenny Pickett is I do think you've seen enough that's like, man, maybe.
Okay.
Right? Like, it's not like he's just been awful game in and game out.
He hasn't thrown 2 touchdown passes in 1 game, right?
Correct.
Okay.
But
I'm not busting your chops. I was actually
no. That is true. But And so on the other side of it, yeah, I don't think you go into this season. I don't think there's anybody anywhere. Maybe Kenny Pickett, maybe Mike Tomlin, but I doubt, again, outside of possibly Kenny Pickett, I don't think there's anybody anywhere going into this season that's like, yep, that guy is definitively, that's going to be one of your top 10 quarterbacks for the next decade, right? Like, there's nobody that's sitting there saying, clearly the Steelers have their guy. But I do think you've seen enough that it's like, oh, maybe with more development. This is a critical year for sure for both Mike Tomlin, for the organization, and certainly for Kenny Pickett. Like, Kenny has to, I keep going back and probably too much so, because I do understand the preseason is the preseason. But Goon, he looked so good in that preseason. It was like, that this guy has taken another step. The decision making, the passes, I get that it's preseason. I know. It certainly was driven home this year. But man, like, it was there though. Like, the talent is there. And I think with what the Steelers have at running back, with the continuing development of that offensive line, which has come along nicely,
it has.
And with that receiving core, to me, it needs to click this coming year.
Gotcha.
And if it doesn't, I don't know how else. Last year, I think rightfully, at least some of the blame went to the offensive coordinator. Maybe too much of it, given what else transpired, but I do think that had a lot to do with it. That being said, and by the way, are the Steelers going out of their way to just name the offensive coordinators that will get the fans most upset? Like, they are. It's like every day you're reading about really the Carolina Panthers, that's where you're going to go for your next quarter. It's like they keep trying to outdo themselves with,
they said Arthur, right?
Inadequacy. Yeah, they're talking with.
I thought they signed him, Arthur Smith.
Did they sign him now?
I believe so.
Oh my gosh! See,
the richest man in the building, including the owner, is the offensive coordinator.
And right, and that's okay. I've been very much on the local scene. Today.
I was driving all day today too, so I'll look it up. We're celebrating if that's No, but I'm with you. But
which is
the original question was,
and he may end up being great, by the way. But
who? Arthur?
Yes.
Smith? Yeah, I got you.
But as a coordinator,
lots of proof.
But not exactly a hire that gets you enthused. Like James Franklin, say what you want about the hires and how they've worked out or not, but he has gone out and pretty much across the board, every hire he's made,
got some sizzle.
You're at least like, oh man, that's intriguing. And most of them, it's been like, oh yeah, that gets me fired up. That's the guy. Again, they don't all work out. That's fine. You swing and miss sometimes, but you're swinging for the fences. I think as a fan base, you can live with that. Mike Yursich didn't work out. Fine, for whatever reason. But the hire, it was a splash hire, and there was reason to believe that it was going to be a great hire. Again, we don't know how Kotelnicki will work out, although I will say that the early things we're hearing, even from recruits, it's like, wow. It feels like this one is the grand slam that they keep trying to hit. Again, we'll see with Tom Allen. I think there's good potential there, and the track record as a defensive coach is very good on that one. But yeah, the Steelers, it's like I don't think
that's the first part of my question.
Overly enthusiastic.
That's the first part, and that is that I believe that the Steelers, if they weren't with the Steelers, they would have gotten rid of Tomlin and probably Pickett this fast. They got rid of Trubisky pretty fast up in Chicago, right? That seems to be a very similar.
There's a couple of other things.
They're a train wreck.
Well,
not Steelers, the Bears.
No, but also, like, if you're around a situation, like, sometimes you do know. I'm a big fan, like college coaches, at least back in the day. I don't know, maybe in today's world, it's not realistic. I get the Steelers have not confirmed it, but yes, everywhere it's being reported that yes, Arthur Smith is being hired as the Steelers offensive coordinator. We'll see.
They'll use FedEx.
When you look at the sometimes you can evaluate a coach right away, and it's you get a year into it. Again, generally I'm like, yeah, give the guy 5 years, let him get his players in. Listen, if after a year you're like, all right, this guy's personality, he's a jerk. Any level.
Okay.
High school, college, NFL. If you're around the guy on a regular basis, or same thing with a quarterback. If you're looking at Mitch Trubisky, you're like, there's some talent there, but yeah, this is not a good personality fit. Or, you know what, there's a couple of the throws that we need him to make that he can't make consistently. Like there are times where it's like, okay, yep, this is not working, or this works. But I think a lot of times, right, there's a fine line there in terms of what works and doesn't work. And in football especially, right, it's getting the right coach with the again, we probably go back to it too often, but I mean, Tom Brady admits that if they don't get that the call in that Raiders game with the role, Tom Brady, again, maybe at some point he goes on and has a nice career, but he does not get the opportunity that he had.
Bledsoe's back next year.
Yeah, and no questions asked. So sometimes it's just circumstance that leads to it. I genuinely think the Steelers are at the point where it's like, I think Kenny Pickett's a good leader. I think he's got a good arm.
Okay.
I think he's pretty good at decision making. We know we need a big-time quarterback. Maybe he's that, maybe not. And I think they need to see, that it looks like it is Arthur Smith. Let's see what that relationship is. And if Smith can bring out the best in Kenny Pickett, and again, maybe he takes that next step, and by the end of next season, we're like, yeah, that's a guy that's, maybe not Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen good, but yeah, he's a guy that can lead the Steelers to where they want to go. Or maybe, again, you get through the season, you have another season with that receiving core and with everything else they have in place, and he's just throwing one touchdown a game. I think then it's like, okay, yeah, we got to move on. He's, maybe a serviceable backup, but we need a top 15 quarterback for sure, and probably a top 10, and that's not what we have. I just think right now it feels like it could go either way with him, to me. And again, I'm not in the organization, I'm not around it, but I think the Steelers are telling you they've seen enough to think that potential may be there, but they haven't seen enough. Again,
or is that the Steeler way to support their AKA first round? Because I'll say this, my two franchise that I look at and say this is the most stable franchises in the business, and it's the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Green Bay Packers. Now, beginning of this year, people wanted Jordan Love benched.
Yeah.
And then their organization, stubborn as they are, much like the Steelers, or Steelers, cheap, stubborn, whatever, don't want to move on to somebody else. They said, no, we drafted this guy first round. He's going to, and then they saw it.
I think they knew it there, his talent. Like they had seen enough.
Crazy stuff, man.
I think they really thought that they had great confidence that they had their guy and that he would play his way through it. And obviously that happened. I don't think with the Steelers that's the situation. Like, I think they maybe might have their guy. And I think they want to know for sure before you start investing in another move. Now, I will say what the Steelers do this offseason at the quarterback spot is still interesting to me with the Steelers, because you need, obviously, a good backup in this league? And do the Steelers get a veteran that they think could be a guy that can fill in, a stopgap? If you get halfway through, right, the upcoming season, and it's like, yep, you know what, we see it now. Yeah. Kenny Pickett's a good kid, but not our guy.
Yep.
I think you want a veteran that you feel like maybe could.
We'll go back to Mason for the 44th time.
And you know what? That's if they can work out, and I don't think they can, but if they can work out a deal with him, all the more power to them.
I think if Mason won a playoff game or two this year, he'd have been the starter next year.
And that would be very, very interesting, obviously, because now you're talking about a veteran who has been around and then would have, a bit of an established track record. I still think at that point, if you're the Steelers, now I think, if that scenario played out that way, then I think you're looking at the draft with an eye toward the future, a la Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love in Green Bay, where it's like, all right, we can get our guy in waiting. Let him sit for a couple of years if need be, or if he is CJ Stroud-esque, go ahead and let him fly right out of the gate. But I think you have some flexibility there.
There we go.
But I am okay. Again, just speaking for me, I am okay with the Steelers seeing this play out a little bit more with Kenny Pickett. I'm certainly not convinced that he is the future, but I'm not 100% convinced that he's not. I mean, if you pin me down and put me with truth serum in me, I think it's more likely that he's not the long-term solution at quarterback, but I don't feel strongly enough about it or confidently enough about that to say that, he definitely does not deserve the opportunity. I think there's been enough there that it's like, man, if he can take another step, stay healthy, which is a big part of the equation too, maybe they can find a little extra magic here with that pick. But it is a big season coming up for the Steelers overall.
Do you think they would ever fire Mike Tomlin mid-season?
Not mid-season, no.
I don't think they would either. No. I don't think they want to pay a couple guys. That's their
MO.
No, I'm not just calling them cheap today. I mean, it's just not their MO. It's not their thing to do that.
Yeah, and listen, I really think that the Steelers, I think they'll get to the postseason next year. I think, a lot of things that we'll have to see how they play out in terms of how that will shake out. Although, and while I do believe that, I will say the AFC is just
loaded right now.
So strong.
It really is.
If Burrow is back and healthy with the Bengals, right, they immediately are a contender. If Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, they're going to be a fascinating watch next year.
With that defense, holy crap.
Yeah, I don't know, because you still have the Bills, and I know there are people that think the Bills window is closed. I think it is closing, but I don't think it's closed. I don't think it is yet.
Did you see the money?
The Dolphins, yes.
That's where
the Dolphins are certainly going to be an intriguing watch next season. Obviously, the Ravens and how well they bounce back at the moment. It feels like that was such a devastating loss that it may set them back. But listen, humans and athletes are pretty resilient. You get back to work, and the optimism will be there again next year. And they'll have a very good roster again next year. And listen, the Raiders are going to be a fascinating watch next year. The Broncos are going to be a fascinating watch next year.
Chargers.
My understanding is the Chiefs are planning to continue to play football out there.
Chargers with Harbaugh and Herbert.
Do you think that they might be a little bit
of they might make some noise in there, buddy.
So, yes. The AFC is going to be a very difficult place to – and by the way, the Houston Texans if they take another step next year,
Colts too.
I mean, look out! Yeah, Colts. But, I mean, if CJ Stroud can take a leap, I don't even know how you do that from where he was this year. But if that dude figures things out even more and is better next year, look out. Like that is so yeah, the AFC is a brutal place to try to make your living.
Leaves me by the next
by winning big.
We hit the commercial. Here's
well,
I just want to
real quick. Hold on. Let me just mention that you are listening to WFXS Pleasant Gap State College Sports Radio 98.7 The Fox. We appreciate your doing so. It is the Goon and Ironhead show. We are at Quaker Steak and Lube. Our thanks to our sponsors, Quaker Steak and Lube, as well as Lion Country Kia, Sioka Motors, and Timberland Federal Credit Union.
So, what's going on in Kansas City right now? What, 4 of the last 5 Super Bowls have been represented by the Kansas City Chiefs?
Yeah.
And head coach Andy Reid. I've seen this book before. I've seen this play out.
Yeah.
And the difference is Patrick Mahomes versus Donovan McNabb. There's a guy out there. I mean, McNabb, I was a huge McNabb guy, always was. But he just did not show up in huge, big games. We saw that Saturday in Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
We saw that Saturday. He did not show up again, but I don't know if that was on him, on the coaching staff. I don't know, but
I mean, certainly he made some bad decisions, but yeah, it just did not feel like they did it. Like it felt like they got away from the offense that they had run all season long.
Absolutely, they did.
It was just weird.
I mean, I'm out there. I mean, my wife had Gus Johnson on her fantasy team, so I'm always like, Gus Bus, just kidding around. I mean, he didn't carry the ball hardly. And they had the guy Hill in there, which was great, but he kept on missing blocks, and Lamar's getting blindsided in there. I'm like, get him the hell out of there. Like, it was like they weren't even watching the game that we were watching type of thing. Zay Flowers, you talk about karma. He gets up, and one of the 3 dumb, stupid high school plays, he gets up and spins the ball on the, I believe it was Snead. I believe that was his name, from Kansas City. He spun the ball instantly. That's 125% of the time they're going to throw the flag on that. You may as well rip the quarterback's helmet off and throw it into the stands and not expect a penalty out of that. They're going to call the taunting call all the time. But how bad was karma that 2 plays later he reaches in the end zone and the guy he spun the ball on is the guy who caused that fumble in the end zone?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then he goes on the sideline, throws a tantrum, smacks the table around, he busts his hand up, cuts his hand. I mean, come on. That's just, they were so out of sorts for them. I can't believe Harbaugh allowed that stuff to go on. Patrick Queen had 2 stupid, completely baited by Kelsey.
Yeah.
Personal fouls after a play. It's like, dude, he was so far in that dude's head. Like, you're done, man. You can't play like that. So go back to the Chiefs and Andy Reid and saying how McNabb was. He went to 4 straight NFC title games. 4. 5 and 6 years he went to the Super Bowl 1 time with McNabb. You know, there's a guy who showed up. He was MVP, did all this just like Lamar. But when it came to the big stage, he fell short of it. And it's exactly the way Lamar was the other day. Now, with Andy, he has an okay receiving team, an unbelievable tight end, and a great offensive line. The same recipe that the Eagles had in the mid-2000s when Andy was coaching for the Eagles. The exact same thing. And a good defense that was feasible, had great pressure up front, good defensive backs, all this, all that. It's the same team out there. He created the same team, but he has a quarterback that's not going to lose. That Patrick Mahomes is just unbelievable. He would just will that team to win every time. And he makes play after play after play that Lamar could not make a good play where Patrick Mahomes could not make a bad play the other day. I mean, scrambling and throwing a free throw up pretty much up in the air, and the guy Kelsey catching it. And my Lord, by the way, Kelsey, all-time leading catches in the history of the playoffs over Jerry Rice. That's pretty unbelievable.
It is unbelievable.
I mean, wow. Just that dude is just unbelievable. And then, you know, the fact that he is Rob Gronkowski's age. My brother told me this 2 weeks ago, and I still can't comprehend it. Gronkowski's been in the league for 2-3 years now. You know, Kelsey's still playing. I mean, Kelsey's getting towards the end of his career. I get it. But, man, he is still balling at this age. Still just killing people. So, Andy Reid, we're on Bill Belichick's, tip all the time, all over him and, saying he's the greatest. And I've always said it should be the Lombardi-Belichick trophy, and that's how I feel about the how good Bill Belichick was. But I'm telling you what, Andy Reid wins this title. That's 3 in 5 years.
Can I also? How amazing is it? And I don't even necessarily fault anybody, but I do think Belichick is going to be widely regarded as certainly one of the greatest, but I think most are going to put him down as the greatest coach in the history of the National Football League. And I don't think he's going to be able to get a job this coming season. Do you think? I don't think the Commanders are.
And the Seahawks haven't hired him. It's the Seahawks and Commanders that are left.
The Seahawks. I don't. I mean, that just does not seem. Yeah, like that's a possibility.
I saw a stat today that since 1967, which is the Super Bowl era, Vince Lombardi, Curly Lambeau, and Tom Landry and Bill Belichick have coached the team in all of those years. And next year, if he doesn't have a head job, it's the first time without one of those 3 or 4 guys.
But can you think of? I mean, I don't know that we've necessarily had a circumstance quite like this, but like, I mean, this would be the equivalent of like John Wooden leaving UCLA and there's
interviewing
like 5
for
or 6,
USC. They
5
can't
or 6
get it.
openings, and they're like, "No, we're good. Thanks, John.
We're gonna go. We're gonna go
great."
young.
And again, and I don't. I mean, with any of these jobs, there's none of them where I'm like, oh yeah, man, they're going to regret not hiring Belichick. Like, I mean, I get why. I don't think any of these teams are making bad decisions, or it's like, oh my God, I can't believe they wouldn't take Belichick, right? Like, I think all of these, I'm like, well, no, I get it. That makes sense. Oh yeah, no, that makes sense. But again, arguably the greatest in the history of the sport, it's like, I can't get a job.
Does he want control? I mean, complete control? What's going on? I mean,
and he wants to coach. Like, I mean, it'd be one thing if there's, a guy that's like, well, I don't know if you want. I mean, he wants to coach.
He's that close.
And I don't think he's going to get a job in the upcoming season. I think he'll get one eventually, but I think it's going to be next year.
Interesting. He's got DC, and that was the rumor from the start that he had fit into the DC mold a little bit.
They're interviewing Mike McDonald again, or not again, but they're interviewing Mike McDonald with the Ravens. I mean, we'll see. Maybe Belichick does end up there. It does not feel like it.
I mean,
and I'm not sure that. I don't know that Belichick is the right answer for the Commanders at this stage either. Like, that does not feel to me, outside looking in. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know that locker room would be all jacked up about Belichick coming in.
I didn't see him fitting into Atlanta, and that was the one that he was really, really leaked to.
Yeah,
I saw him fitting into the Chargers. In my opinion, proven quarterback, proven defense type of thing, because that's what he wants. I mean, he doesn't want to go. He's not going to go to and just completely blow something up and then start from the base. It's not. He's 70-some years old. I mean, it's crap, man.
Out at New England.
So I do want to say that I'm really impressed with the Eagles hires, OC, Kellen Moore in DC, and Vic Fangio. Fangio is a Pennsylvania guy, Dunmore dude. So, I mean, how many guys in the NFL have Vic Fangio ties? Is just insane. So I love the fact that he has a good proven guy on defense that Sirianni can just shut his mouth and go help out with offense with Kellen Moore. Just play the head coach role.
Yeah.
Let your defense go and let your offense go from there.
We are going to take a break here. We're back with more of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show in Mirror Meadows.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
Since retiring, I have spent my time searching the countryside for the hottest wings in America. I always seem to end up disappointed. You call these hot? Back off, Luigi.
Mamma mia.
You can't clumsy busboy. Your wings suck! I knew I should have stuck with Quaker Steak's triple atomic wings. You think I'm tough enough?
The Center Hall Farm Store has been serving Center County and beyond for well over a half century. A small family business, the Center Hall Farm Store specializes in animal nutrition and manufactures its feed fresh using local ingredients. Get the best in horse, cow, pig, chicken, and bird feeds. If you're not already a customer, stop in and see why so many of your neighbors are. The Center Hall Farm Store at 110 West Allison Street in Center Hall, or call us at 814-364-1393.
Sioka Toyota of Williamsport invites you to stop in today or check us out online. We have the smart path to your next Toyota, like the all-new Crown, BZ4X, the all-new Grand Highlander, Corolla Cross Hybrids, Sequoias, and more. Over 100 new Toyotas here and on the way. Don't make a $1,000 mistake. Choose Sioka Toyota of Williamsport and see the Sioka dealership's difference. Buy or reserve yours today and see for yourself why Sioka Toyota is the only stop you need for your next new car. Sioka Toyota, it just feels right.
Ready to be part of something bigger? Come pave the road to success at Glen Baker and discover a career where your hard work and determination can build a bigger, better future. Our team believes we can build a stronger future together. Join us at Glen Baker, where we value teamwork on the field and on the job. Go to GOHcareers.com to apply. GOHcareers.com. And best of luck to all the Center County sports teams all season long from everyone at Glen Baker.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
The Goon and Ironhead.
We welcome you back in here on this Tuesday afternoon. And again, the Steelers are reportedly hiring Arthur Smith to be the new offensive coordinator. Smith went 21-30 as Falcons head coach, but hopefully we'll have better fortunes as offensive coordinator.
Another example. Remember last game against the Saints? When Winston went out and ran the late touchdown type of thing, and he felt a little pressure, wanted to defend his guys and stuff like that, and he gave the Saints coaching staff a little ear after the game before he got fired. So you can see where your Maryland Clemson guy would get that a little bit from a very similar thing. But the story of him is unbelievable. His dad owns and started FedEx, Arthur Smith.
Yeah.
So he's a quasi-billionaire. I mean, you don't see these people normally. There's a guy who doesn't have to work a day in his life, and he's out there doing one of the hardest jobs in the world in coaching in the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a grind. I mean, that's a love and a passion for the game that man has right there. Very impressive. Very, very impressive.
Yeah, now we'll just see if he can be successful.
I mean, what's he going to do? He's going to tell the Rooney's like, shut your mouth, Art. I can buy you 3 times over.
Well, yeah, we'll see. A couple of things. Did want to run through real quickly for local wrestling fans, high school fans here in the Center County area. The District 6 AA Team Duel Championships got underway tonight. It'll be Juniata against Central at 5 o'clock. The winner will then face Bald Eagle area at 7. And then we also have Penns Valley taking on Moshannon Valley tonight at Mount Union High School at 6 o'clock rather. And then the winner will face Mount Union at 7:30 tonight as well. And Phillipsburg Osceola will face Forest Hills at 5 o'clock. That'll be at Huntington High School, and then the winner will face Huntington. And those times are 5:30 and 7 for the duels at Huntington. And then State College will be in the AAA semifinals on Saturday. And the way they're doing that at Central Mountain, they'll have 2 mats. So they're going to have the semifinals going on concurrently, and then the 2 winners will wrestle for the championship on Saturday night at Central Mountain. I think trying to find it here, the semifinals are, oh my gosh, I lost the times here. Semifinals are at 4, and then the championship match will be at 6. State College will face Mifflin County in the first round, and my gosh, Central Mountain will have Altoona, and then the winners again will meet for the championship at about 6 o'clock on Saturday. And the AA tournament will then also continue and conclude. That'll be at Bald Eagle area on Saturday as well. So just to update you there, Penn State Wrestling will have Ohio State this Friday night. That'll be a 6:30 duel at Rec Hall. And all 20 wrestlers, well, if the starters go for both teams, all 20 wrestlers are ranked in the Intermat rankings this week. But little difference in that Penn State has obviously 4 at number 1. 9 of their wrestlers are in the top 7 at the respective weights. Ohio State has 1 wrestler in the top 3 and 2 in the top, I think it's 11. And then the rest are ranked below that. So Penn State will be heavily favored to win the duel. There should be some great individual matchups, like outstanding individual matchups. The 2 probably that you really want to keep an eye on. At 141, Bo Bartlett ranked 2nd in the country. Jesse Mendez ranked 3rd in the country for Ohio State. They'll meet. And then 149 will be interesting. Tyler Kasak, who, of course, presumably is going to be the starter now. He beat David Evans in the finals of the Matttown 2 Open on Sunday. And Kasak is 12th. Dylan D'Amelio, I think, is 9th, if I'm not mistaken. He's ranked higher. It's either 8th or 9th. I think he's 9th in the rankings this week for Ohio State. Kasak has just lost once, and that was to Bo Bartlett at 41. He hasn't lost at 49 yet. D'Amelio, and I think the rankings are fair and right, but D'Amelio has 6 losses. Now, they're against a highly ranked opponent, so, I mean, the ranking makes sense. I'm not complaining about that, but I'm really curious to see how Kasak responds here in this particular match. D'Amelio's an experienced kid, really good, but obviously beatable as well. I think this is a really good measuring stick match for Tyler Kasak at this stage of the season as you start to make the turn now. You know, it is hard to believe. We're a month away, basically 5 weeks away, but I mean, we're basically a month away from the Big Ten championships.
March 9th and 10th, right?
Boom.
Yep.
And the season is gone. It is amazing how quick it goes. A couple of other Penn State sports notes. How about the men's volleyball team?
Impressive.
Mark Pavlik, one of my all-time favorite human beings, and he and his wife, Heather, if you don't know, his wife is the head coach at Juniata College. Juniata College has won the last 2 Division III national championships. That is heady stuff. Mark has this men's team in a really good spot. Penn State, if you don't know, a week ago went down to Austin, Texas, competed in a tournament down there, lost to Stanford, and lost to then top-ranked UCLA. Now, UCLA, while they were number 1 when they beat Penn State, had lost on Friday night to Ohio State. Ohio State, by virtue of that win, vaulted to number 1 in the rankings last week. And then Penn State, was it Thursday night? No, I'm forgetting. Either Wednesday or Thursday last week, went to Columbus and beat Ohio State. in 4 games in Columbus. And then the two teams met again on Sunday at Rec Hall. And it was a wild one. Ohio State won the first 2 sets, and then Penn State won the next 2. And then in the 5th set, Penn State ultimately prevailed. And I'm forgetting if it was 17-15 or 18-16, but they went extra points, and Penn State ends up winning it and completes the sweep. They're up 1 spot as Penn State in the coaches' rankings this week, but really impressive stuff by that Nittany Lion.
3 straight number 1s, you said.
Volleyball teams.
Very impressive.
Speaking of impressive, what Carolyn Keeger is doing with this Lady Lion basketball team. Now, Ashley Owusu, make no mistake, her emergence, she was a mid-season arrival, the transfer from Virginia Tech, but spent 3 years at Maryland. Listen, her insertion into the lineup has coincided with the 5-game win streak that the Lady Lions are on. She is a big, big part of why Penn State has taken that next step here. But the firepower that the Lady Lions have, I mean, McKenna Maurice has been a terrific scorer her entire career. She remains such. But this team is second in the country right now in 3-point field goal percentage. They shot 61.5% from 3-point range in the victory on Sunday. I mean, that is crazy stuff, Goon. So they will be at Minnesota tomorrow night. That'll be a good test. A road game. Minnesota has kind of slipped back a bit. They're coming off a loss. They're looking for a rebound, but I think Minnesota's like 12-2 at home. Penn State's 3-3 on the road. So this is a really good test, I think, for Penn State at this stage of the season. It is a winnable game, but it is a tall task. I mean, it is certainly not a game that you take for granted. But, boy, I feel like if Penn State wins this one, it kind of solidifies and reaffirms that, yeah, this is a tournament team. It certainly feels – and I'm not – they can lose that game and certainly end up in the tournament, and there's no reason to – feel anything otherwise. But I think if you win this game, it's like, yeah, no doubt about it. And again, to be clear, a lot of season to go. There's actually no doubt about it. But I do think they win this game. It feels like, yeah, then this team, NCAA tournament is no longer the aspiration. It's trying to get to the Sweet 16,
Correct.
Trying to take the next
They've
couple
been playing
of
well. I
steps.
mean,
really well.
Every year they're doing it the right way. They're getting better each and every year. She did it right. She got a couple transfer portals. She also got the recruiting going and stuff like that. I mean, that's like that fine line of what are you going to do here? You know, how much are you going to spend in the recruiting portal versus recruiting high school kids versus recruiting transfer portal people? So she's found that little niche, and she's just like Mike Rhodes, Coach Rhodes. You're trying to find that good balance of guys who come in or girls come in and they play well with each other. You don't know. You really have no idea. You're just putting pieces together.
Yep.
And Carolyn, Coach Keeger has made these right decisions right now. I mean, like the hoops team, basketball, the men's team, that first half the other night, like you said earlier in the show, it was the best they played all year. They can bottle that. They can play with a lot of people in this country. So she's done very, very well. It's always good to see multiple teams doing well on campus and in the wintertime. Hockey's playing well, got a sweep of Ohio State.
Always nice to sweep the Buckeyes.
Yep.
It
doesn't care what sport it is.
No.
Yeah. You beat the men's women's volleyball team, then you beat the hockey team, and then it's all good, buddy. Nothing like beating the Buckeyes and anything. So it's like beating Michigan and anything pretty much. So I do want to touch on that. I mean, do you think that guys are just leaving that program because they suspect something? Not players, because no players have actually left in the transfer portal as of yet for Michigan football. We have the DC, the special teams coordinator, and now the strength coach go with Harbaugh to the NFL. So, I mean, do you think that they see possibly something coming, or is this a step up for them?
Good question.
Yeah. I think it's a little bit
of both.
But Minter was right in the defense coordinator. Minter. he was right in the middle of that Connor Stallions thing. Oh my God. Did you see the ultimate just rub your face in it? So, you know those things that you can pay $50 or $75 and have somebody like say, hey, happy birthday, Jeff, from Cale Sanderson type of thing, it's called Cameo.
Yeah.
So Connor Stallions is doing that. And people are hiring him to just destroy their Ohio State friends. And just be like, hey, I'm Connor Stallions, just to let you know that Michigan won a national title. I mean, it's just a great troll is what it is.
Lord.
If you really want to upset your rival, and there's enough people that are Ohio State fans that are Michigan fans, and they're very good friends. Except for one Saturday a year, they're not friends at all. But that is an ultimate troll right there. I find that hilarious. Now, in the same breath, I mean, I want justice if there was cheating. You're on the same boat as I am. I mean, if there was cheating going on and that kind of substantial advantage was giving out, now they still had to win 6 games to end the season against 5 pretty good teams. So, I mean, there's no denying what they did and how good they were because they were that good.
Yeah.
Whether they knew it was coming or not. And, that is yet to be determined.
Yes, it is.
Now, again, I'm of the ilk where I'm upset that, the guys who possibly were involved are gone. And the guys that are left behind are the players who may have to deal with this. And it may not even be like this cycle of guys. It might be 3 years from now.
Well, and the one difference now, though,
do you think that the NFL
going to be interesting is if the NCAA does try to so this is what's and I don't know what the answer is here, but now the players, let's say the NCAA lays the hammer down and it's like you're
sooner than later
ineligible for bowls. Okay. The players could say, oh yeah, I'm out of here too. I'm going to go. Alabama has some need right now. I'll go. They can. So what you're going to end up with is the folks that will be punished are the fans who presumably had no idea that any of this was going on. They certainly weren't involved. A new coaching staff, which wouldn't have had anything to do with it. And an administration, which, I mean, it appears anyway like they didn't know what was going. I mean, none of the people that are going to be left handling the ramifications had anything to do with the reason for those ramifications. And not only did the people who are responsible for it not have to stay and deal with it there, they will all, or at least the overwhelming majority, at least have the potential, have the chance to go to much greener pastures. Not only are you not punished, you're rewarded.
Yeah.
Jim Harbaugh is rewarded. Yeah. The coaches that are going with him are rewarded. If there were players, and I don't know how clearly some of them at least knew, the degree to which they knew that this was not allowed by the rules, I don't know. But they clearly were, they knew what was happening. Now, again, maybe they didn't. Maybe they thought that's just the way college football is played. That is possible. I mean, I don't know. But the potential is there for none of those people to have any consequences.
Correct. None. Zilch.
You got to
Zero.
love college
it's insane. And there's people who are saying, oh, the NFL is going to punish Harbaugh. And you're like sitting there because they did that to Terrell Pryor, if you remember. He had a 5-game suspension in the NFL for something that he did at Ohio State. I don't know how that happened. I don't.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it can happen to a coach in the NFL.
We have a question. I'm not sure either. But Thomas asks, is getting a pin with a big lead in wrestling akin to throwing a bomb with under a minute left and a 3 TD lead in football? We did touch on that earlier in the program. But the short answer is actually no, because it would be it. I'm just trying. There are other sports like track and field. Okay, if we sweep the first 10 events in a track and field meet, and the 100-meter person, I don't know what the order of track events are, so forgive me if 100 meters leads it off.
You're asking the
you
wrong
get the
two guys
point.
on this one.
Yes, but do you tell your 100-meter
slow it down
sprinter to not try to set a school record if he's feeling great? That of course you don't. Swimming. Do you tell your medley relay team at the end of the event, listen, I know you guys have been training hard all week and it felt like you could set a school record, but we're going to end up embarrassing the other team? No. In any of those things where there are there are team scores being kept. Gymnastics would be a great one. If you're on the balance beam, are you not? You're the last one and your team's up by 10 points. You're not going to try to hit your routine, or you're not going to pull out the spectacular dismount that nobody's ever seen before because we already got this one well in hand, and I don't want to, even though I've been working my tail off and trying to perfect it. Of course not. I don't know. It was just such a strange, again, I think it was just born out of frustration, but there is a difference, to me, a big difference. And, we already covered the football thing there. But there is a big difference in an individual sport where, again, the individuals only have that opportunity for their window to compete, even though there's a team score being kept, versus, a basketball game, a field hockey game, a football game, a basketball game where, now you're up by 30. There's a minute left. Yes, a time to reel it back. Now, even there, like if you have, and we've seen this occasionally over the years, even there, if you have, that last guy on the bench is out there, this is the last home game, you're up by 30, but he's getting in there for a minute. Yeah, you're feeding him the ball. And you're okay with him scoring,
I'm with
right?
you, Bubba.
Like this is his one opportunity to shine. Like that has happened too. And it's like, well, no.
The last kid on the baseball bench, you put him out to get a bat in the bottom of the ninth inning, you're up 10 runs. You tell him,
not
swing the bat.
to swing, not to try to show the other team up.
You worked hard all
course.
year, but you didn't play but 7 games here. But we want you to strike out here. Just take every pitch. Come on, you can't do that.
So again,
like I said, I think it's just sour grapes from the coach. I think that he was trying to enforce to his guys that we don't quit. We're never going to quit. We stand up to the big tough guys and this and that, yada yada yada. He looked like a little crybaby about it, but Kale doesn't have that. I could see somebody being upset with the brands about something like that. In my opinion, me, I'm the rookiest of the rookie wrestling people, so. It's just not Kale's MO.
No.
In any way, shape, or form. So don't go at him. Maybe he did. Maybe when he went at Cody, right?
Alex Clemson went at Kale and Casey in the post match.
So how fast?
Handshake line.
Would he have been ripped in 2?
I don't know.
Yeah, 22.7 seconds. Come on. You know exactly how long it would take.
If I can figure this out very quickly, are going to take a timeout here, and we'll be back with one final segment of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here on a Tuesday afternoon. You're listening to Sports Radio 98.7 The Fall.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
Since retiring, I have spent my time searching the countryside for the hottest wings in America. I always seem to end up disappointed. You call these hot? Back off, Luigi.
Mamma mia.
What hands it, busboy? Your wings suck! I knew I should have stuck with Quaker Steak's triple atomic wings. You think I'm tough enough?
The Center Hall Farm Store has been serving Center County and beyond for well over a half century. A small family business, the Center Hall Farm Store specializes in animal nutrition and manufactures its feed fresh using local ingredients. Get the best in horse, cow, pig, chicken, and bird feeds. If you're not already a customer, stop in and see why so many of your neighbors are. The Center Hall Farm Store at 110 West Allison Street in Center Hall, or call us at 814-364-1393.
Sioka Toyota of Williamsport invites you to stop in today or check us out online. We have the smart path to your next Toyota, like the all-new Crown, BZ4X, the all-new Grand Highlander, Corolla Cross Hybrids, Sequoias, and more. Over 100 new Toyotas here and on the way. Don't make a $1,000 mistake. Choose Sioka Toyota of Williamsport and see the Sioka dealership's difference. Buy or reserve yours today and see for yourself why Sioka Toyota is the only stop you need for your next new car. Sioka Toyota, it just feels right.
Ready to be part of something bigger? Come pave the road to success at Glen O'Habaker and discover a career where your hard work and determination can build a bigger, better future. Our team believes we can build a stronger future together. Join us at Glen O'Habaker, where we value teamwork on the field and on the job. Go to GOHcareers.com to apply. GOHcareers.com. And best of luck to all the Center County sports teams all season long from everyone at Glen O'Habaker.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
The Goon and Ironhead.
We welcome you back to the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show. There, this afternoon, I'm trying to see when this story was posted, right before we went on the air. Pete Thamel with ESPN.
Pete.
University of Tennessee is under investigation for violations related to name, image, and likeness. Sources confirming to ESPN. Now, they've actually obtained a copy of the response. I'm not sure if they have a copy of the allegations, but they have for sure the letter in response. And Tennessee is not exactly taking this lying down. It is a pretty scathing response. My first reaction is there's rules with name, image, and likeness?
The only one I can think of is contacting a player at another school without them being in the portal. That's all I can think of. That's the only violation I can think of.
So the response, and I'm trying to see if this is from the. Sorry, we're reading this during the commercial break here. I think the response is coming from the athletic director, but I'm trying to. No, I'm sorry. This is Tennessee Chancellor,
President of the school,
Donde Plowman. Donde quote, the NCAA's allegations are factually untrue and procedurally flawed. Moreover, it is intellectually dishonest for the NCAA enforcement staff to pursue infractions cases as if student athletes have no NIL rights and as if institutions all have been functioning post-Alston with a clear and unchanging set of rules and willfully violating them, unquote. Now, I don't know all of the details here, but I'm just telling you, initially, I love Plowman's response.
Correct.
It is basically, are you kidding me?
Are you serious?
These rules that are changing by the day because you folks had no foresight to get in front of this issue, and you're going to try to charge us, which, again, I don't know all of the details. We're reading through quickly here. Plowman says the scope of the charges are absurd, and he says Tennessee does not have a lack of institutional control, which apparently is one of the allegations from the NCAA. Plowman also writes, "It is inconceivable that our institution's leadership would be cited as an example of exemplary leadership in July of 2023, then as a cautionary example of a lack of institutional control only 6 months later." Well, you might want to talk to Penn State about how that works when it comes to the NCAA. Yeah, this case is going to be. We'll read more about it.
Another school dropped dime on them, and they wanted something done, and they gave them all this stuff. And
on Thursday,
the NCAA trying to put their will back, put their name back in everything.
Reading more from Plowman's response, the University of Tennessee complied with the interim NIL policy and guidance as it was put in place by the NCAA. No member institution could follow future guidance prior to it being given, let alone interpreted. I mean, I don't know. Again, we'll have to see exactly what all is involved here, but again, how are you supposed to? We've talked about this often. I don't know how any school can effectively navigate these waters with any kind of assurance that they are doing everything in compliance with the NCAA, because nobody knows what the heck the NCAA is trying to set as the standard for compliance with this stuff.
Like I said, the only thing that there is an issue with that I think that people can complain about that is sort of known that it's off. You don't do it, and that is contacting another team's players before they're in the transfer portal. You're contacting a guy and saying, "Hey, if you go in the portal, come here. We'll give you this much money." Completely illegal, but it's happening. It is absolutely happening. I could see where that would be an issue with the NCAA, and they might be bringing charges. But what they're saying right there, and what the president or chancellor is saying, are you kidding me?
Well, here's where, so this is where I do think this case, for me, is going to be the most fascinating component. So what the general gist of the allegations are that the NIL collective, okay, and I think most, if not all, schools now have it. Penn State had 2, and now they have 1, and there's issues there. They're still working through it. It is I think getting there, but it's not a well-oiled machine. And that's not, I'm not taking shots at anybody. I don't think anybody anywhere in the country has what you would call a well-oiled machine, because again, all of the parts are constantly moving, and you're trying to get the right people in there. And as with any new kind of political organization, you're going to have some infighting over how things should be done and all of that. But also, again, from a compliance standpoint, this is the part that I think is going to be most fascinating, though, because what the NCAA, let me just back up a second here. So we entered this new world of NIL, a year and a half ago now?
2 years.
Is that about? Yeah. So, and one of the things that has been established, and correct me if I'm wrong, you know more about this than I do, but I think one of the things that they have established, which is on its surface, I think also absurd, but one of the things that the NCAA has said is that the school, the collectives for the NIL may reach out to prospective student athletes and to student athletes and create opportunities for these both prospects and current student athletes to get money and deals, endorsements, and such. And, there may be different stipulations put on it and this and that. But, and this is where I think the absurdity, to me, is in place. And again, you correct me if I go astray here, Goon, but my understanding is that the way the rules are written right now is that the schools cannot have direct input with the collectives in the NIL. In other words, like James Franklin can't go to the collective NIL and say, listen, you need to go after this player and make him this offer because this is I want this guy as our next wide receiver.
Yeah, I got you.
Create that opportunity, right? The coaches and the school cannot direct the NIL. Am I basically?
I don't know,
right
because I'm sitting and I know what you're asking, and that is that who contacts the player and when. So if a guy's in the transfer portal, Penn State or any representative of Penn State University cannot talk to them about NIL money.
Right. They have to only talk to the NIL
through the collective,
folks.
but then somebody
and
has to be telling the collective who to contact.
Well,
weird.
So, yes.
That's contact.
So, with the NCAA, my understanding here, the NCAA is saying that the collective was breaching the rules that have been established. And yes, I'm probably reaching out too soon to student athletes who were not in the transfer portal. I'm not positive about that.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But it is, I am positive that the allegations are against the NIL collective. At least the thrust of the case is saying that the NIL collective was out of bounds. They are also alleging, the NCAA is, a lack of institutional control. What Tennessee, I think, is saying is, you won't let us have any control, you knuckleheads. You told us we can't control this. And so you can't then turn around and say, hey, you didn't control this. You put into place the idiotic rules that said we can't control this.
Yes.
Right?
So, again, go to Ohio
And
State. How do those kids know that they go to Ohio State, they get this big $13 million that they got for all those 10 players that transferred in? Like, how are they contacted? It's just where it's so bizarre, and we really nobody has any idea. Right? Like, okay,
yes,
you're Jeff Byers. You're the number one recruit in the country. How do you gauge what you're worth with a university? Who's contacting you? Like, if Penn State wants to go to $3 million, okay, we'll give you $3 million. And that's where my issue is. The NIL is name, image, likeness. Autographs, T-shirts, jersey sales, make a couple $1,000. Now it's just morphed into pay for play. This is professional sports. That's where my issue is. But how is Jeff Byers, the number one, what do you want to play, tight end? Number one tight end in the country, coming out of Jamoke High School, how does somebody from Penn State let Jeff know that, hey, we have a $3 million offer on the table? Penn State representatives are not allowed to do that under my impression. But then Penn State representatives are contacting our NIL and then saying, hey, this is Jeff Byers' number. Get a hold of him. This is the deal, or give me a good deal for him. I don't know how it works. It's insane. And then for the NCAA to come in there and say, oh, well, it's lack of institutional control. What control are you talking about?
There's no control. Set it up so that they aren't to have control, though. That's the whole.
They can pick and choose who they want to suspend now.
Well,
that's what they're doing.
Yeah, this is going to be a fascinating case, and I mean, I know we keep saying it, but eventually, I think we are going to be right. Like, this is the demise of the NCAA. Like, I mean, you cannot.
They've been on their 19th life for how long now?
You cannot cite an institute. If I say to you, if the let's just say take it out of sports. I say to you that, listen, you as a company, okay, you cannot dictate what your employees do in their off time, okay? And then your employees go off and they get into a drunken mess of a scene, and you're like, all right, now we're going to cite the company because you allowed your employees
were embarrassed,
go crazy. And it's like, well, I know, but you told it like we don't have control over that. You specifically told us that we don't have control over that. The NCAA has said that you can't be involved with the student athletes and the NIL, right? You cannot coordinate that stuff. And now, unless I'm missing something, and it's possible I'm missing something, but now the NCAA is turning around and saying, hey, you didn't keep tabs on this NIL stuff. It's like, well, right. That's, remember 2 years ago when you were setting this up and you said the schools can't dictate this and can't be directly involved with the student athletes? This is why we were suggesting that maybe that's a bad idea. And now you clearly think it's a bad idea, but you're going to hold the institutions responsible instead of your own rule enforcement and your own procedures set in place. It is, it's absurd.
It is. It's out of control.
Which, again, it's the NCAA.
It's just par for the course with the NCAA.
Yes.
It's absolutely insane. And
so, yeah, it's craziness.
Yes.
I mean, just
stupidity.
Absolute craziness.
Is it the word I'm looking for? An adjective? Explain them by any adjective you want, because they're all true with the NCAA. They're idiots. They're
yeah, but this one,
I don't get it. Yeah, I don't get it. But the fact that they could charge anybody and say
idiocy,
like, again, unless if it's an institutional thing, if they're saying that Joe Schmo from Penn State's football staff was contacting Maryland and Ohio State and Michigan players during the season about transferring and offering them. Yeah, I could see that, but I don't think that's that.
No, it's the collective that they're saying was doing this stuff, or alleging was doing this stuff, and they're saying that the Tennessee, again, at least that's my brief reading here, is that Tennessee didn't oversee that effectively, and what Tennessee I think is easily going to me, if I'm judging a courtroom, it's like, okay, present your case. It's like, well, Your Honor, the university here did not have oversight of the collective, and the collective reached out to these student athletes before they should have. And the defense says, Your Honor, here's the document where they told us we can't direct the NIL collective to we can't be participants in their conversations with prospective student athletes. I'm like, get out of here. Right? Like that's end. Done. They're doing what you told them to do. You told them not to have control over this. And then it's like the NCAA is, hey, these guys didn't have any control over this. Well,
so
right. Morons.
LOIC, lack of institutional control, is a big charge. That is a big charge, and I have no idea why they would throw it around in this circumstances. I mean, but nothing surprises you anymore that comes from them. So we'll talk off the air about the whole NCAA with the wrestling thing, by the way.
Wow.
I don't know if you've heard any of that.
Yes, and there's – listen, I do think and maybe we'll delve more into this on Thursday. I do think and it's not just the wrestling, it's that whole Iowa State probe. What it sounds like and what the defense is at least alleging is that they basically started, they being the NCAA, started monitoring phone, and not just the NCAA, but investigators started monitoring phones in an attempt to see if something was going on. That ain't the way our laws work in this country.
No.
You have to have like reasonable suspicion, reason to, and get a warrant. And none of that, at least allegedly, occurred. Now, what is alleged to have occurred may very well have occurred, but if that information was received by illegal means, then the case should rightfully be thrown out.
You're saying to me that I wrestled Iowa State, the NCAA tapped my phone.
That is basically, they put some geofencing around and
saw what sites you were going to and all that stuff.
Correct. To see if the student athletes were going, and other students. It wasn't just student athletes. They were targeting students, but the student athletes were of particular interest, especially on the Iowa campus, maybe on the Iowa State too, but I've read a little.
Well, what I'm saying to you is they might be looking at where it was taking place. It could have been taking place on Iowa State athletic property, and that is illegal. Like when they suspend NFL players for gambling outside of football. The one guy got in trouble for gambling, but he was in the building. I mean, that might be where they're going with that.
Yeah, but you can't you have to have, there's still rights that you have as a citizen, and it sure appears with the latest reporting here that those rights were substantially violated. So to the extent that even if what is alleged to have occurred, because the evidence was collected illegally, the cases, and I think rightfully, should be tossed. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll maybe pick up more on that because that's also been a bizarre and interesting case.
Imagine that.
That wraps up our show for today. We will be back on Thursday. Until then, be good. And for goodness sake,